You know the names: Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, Bill Gates, modern titans of wealth, celebrated in headlines and algorithms. But 500 years ago, before Silicon Valley, before stock tickers, before modern capitalism itself, there was a man who wielded more power than any billionaire alive today. He didn't just make a fortune. He bought emperors. He financed popes. He controlled the currency supply of an entire continent. And almost no one remembers his name. Jakob Fugger. Born in 1459 in the free imperial city of Augsburg, now part of modern Germany, Jakob Fugger was the youngest son of a moderately successful family of textile merchants. He should have faded into the background of European history. A second son, a bookkeeper, maybe a modest trader. Instead, he became something Europe had never seen before, a private citizen with imperial leverage. Jakob Fugger's story is the story of a world on the edge of transformation, from feudal to financial, from bloodline to bank account, from crown to credit. And he was the man who opened the door. As a young man, Jakob was sent to Venice, the financial epicenter of Renaissance Europe. There, he studied the art of double-entry bookkeeping, trade finance, and the politics of gold. He returned to Augsburg with something far more valuable than goods: knowledge. He didn't just want to sell, he wanted to own. While most merchants were trading in cloth and spices, Jakob looked deeper, beneath the ground, into the Alps, into the mountains of Hungary, into the mines that fed the minting presses of Europe: copper, silver, and eventually, gold. Fugger began acquiring mining rights, slowly at first, then aggressively. He offered loans to struggling monarchs in exchange for exclusive access to their mineral resources. One by one, the debts piled up. And with every default, Fugger took another slice of Europe's natural wealth. By the early 1500s, he had cornered the copper market, and with it, Europe's ability to mint coins. Let that sink in. He controlled the metal that made money itself. But controlling metal wasn't enough. Fugger wanted to control the system, so he broke with centuries of religious tradition. At the time, charging interest on loans, usury, was a mortal sin. The Catholic Church condemned it. Most Christian societies outlawed it. But Fugger saw the loophole. He began disguising interest as fees. He partnered with princes and popes to sanctify his deals. He invented new instruments of debt, new ways to profit, new ways to extract power through paper. He didn't wait for permission. He engineered a new morality, one that sanctified lending as divine commerce. Jakob Fugger wasn't just building wealth, he was assembling influence infrastructure. He funded wars, he stabilized currencies, he dictated terms to kings who had no choice but to obey, and then came his greatest play, the election of 1519. Charles V, a 19-year-old heir to the Habsburg dynasty, wanted to become Holy Roman Emperor. But the crown wasn't awarded by divine right. It was voted on by 7 prince-electors, each more corruptible than the last. Fugger saw opportunity. He orchestrated an astronomical loan, 850,000 florins, equivalent to billions today. That money went directly to the electors. Bribes, cloaked as campaign contributions. Charles won. The crown was his. But the power? That belonged to Jakob Fugger. He had bought an empire, and with it, legal immunity, economic privileges, and unrestricted access to royal policy. From that point on, the Holy Roman Empire ran not on glory or divine will, it ran on Fugger's money. But Jacob's reach didn't stop at kings. He reached into heaven. Pope Leo X, a Medici, needed funds to build St. Peter's Basilica. The church's coffers were dry, so Leo authorized the sale of indulgences, a way for the faithful to buy their way out of purgatory. Who handled the logistics, the contracts, the money collection? Jakob Fugger. His banking house managed the flow of money from German towns to the Vatican vaults. His clerks distributed the priests. His ledgers tracked the souls. It was a spiritual marketplace, and not everyone approved. A young monk named Martin Luther was disgusted by what he saw: salvation for sale, grace turned into currency. He wrote 95 theses. He nailed them to a church door. He started the Protestant Reformation, a revolution that shattered Europe, that redrew borders, that triggered 100 years of war, and at the root of it, behind the pulpits and the politics, was a banker's hand. Jakob Fugger didn't mean to spark the Reformation, but his fingerprints were all over the fuse. What made Fugger different wasn't just his wealth, it was the system he created, a system that blurred the lines between public and private power, a system where loyalty could be bought, borders could be financed, and morality could be negotiated. He had his own intelligence network, messengers, agents, scouts. He monitored trade routes, intercepted letters, manipulated markets. His organization stretched from Antwerp to Naples, from Krakow to Lisbon. Long before the term existed, he ran a private global finance empire, and he did it without armies, without parliaments, without fanfare. His power was silent, surgical, and permanent. When Jakob Fugger died in 1525, he was by far the richest private individual in recorded history. His fortune, adjusted for inflation, would exceed $400 billion. That's more than Musk and Bezos combined. He didn't just eclipse the kings of his day, he eclipsed the billionaires of ours. But unlike modern moguls, Fugger didn't crave fame. He didn't buy yachts, he didn't chase legacy, he chased control. He once said, "Money must work," and work it did, across borders, generations, and institutions. His family would remain powerful for centuries. His innovations, interest-bearing loans, structured monopolies, imperial underwriting, became the foundation of modern capitalism. He was the first true capitalist in a feudal world, and his ideas, for better or worse, won. So why isn't he a household name? Why isn't Jakob Fugger taught in every history class, carved into the granite of economic theory? Because true power doesn't advertise itself. It doesn't scream. It whispers. It sits behind the throne. It signs the loans. It owns the land the crown stands on. And then it erases its own footprints. Fugger understood something that even today's elites still live by. You don't need to be king if the king owes you money. The world doesn't run on laws or elections or righteousness. It runs on debt. And the one who controls the debt controls the world. If this episode showed you a truth you weren't meant to see, if you want to understand the hidden forces shaping our history and our future, subscribe, because Jakob Fugger was just the beginning. There are more, and they're still out there.